Hi there, Henry from 911 Virgin. Welcome to another video. So the wheels on the 964RS are in desperate need of refurbishment, and I've come to the other side of Uxbridge to Bespoke Alloy Wheels, who do all our alloy wheel refurbishment, and I'm here with Don.
Hello.
Who is what he doesn't know about alloy wheel refurbishment isn't worth knowing. Alloy wheel refurbishment is one of the things which I think is massively undervalued in the motor trade.
Definitely.
If you kind of go onto any forum and people type, I will need my alloy wheels refurbishing, people come on the forum, oh yeah, I've got a bloke that does it for 30 quid and a packet of peanuts. And I wanted to show people today what's involved in the process.
Yeah, of course.
So this is a proper, I mean, essentially most of the work you do is trade-based. We use you.
Of course, yeah. A lot of
anyone in the area that knows what's good for them uses you. And I shouldn't ever say it to your face, but it always amazes me when you understand what's involved, the price of the work for. There's a lot goes into it.
There's a lot of processes, yes.
Yes. So wheels come in. First thing that needs doing, tyres taking off.
Yep, tyres taken off, weights removed, the rubber valves removed. And then obviously it gets spun for any cracks, buckles, anything like that.
So you're checking to make sure it's true.
Of course.
In effect, you put it on what essentially is a tyre balancing machine.
Yes. There's no point in refurbing a wheel that isn't straight.
Okay. One of the things that you often see people talk about is, people will come to your house, refurbish your wheel. I have a real thing, smart repairs and people who come to your house to refurbish alloy wheels, to me, unless you take the tyre off an alloy wheel, you can't refurbish it.
Not properly, no. And
you're spraying the front face, and by definition, the back of it is going to get dry overspray.
No, of course, and even the products they use are good enough for the body of your car, but they don't withstand the salt, acid chemicals that you clean your wheels with, stuff like that.
Because they do take you put stuff on your wheels you would never spray on your car bodywork.
No, exactly that. So even the brake dust, it just sticks to it.
Yeah.
It looks nice for a short period. Unfortunately, doesn't tend to last that long.
It's a quick dust over if you're a lower end of the motor trade.
Yes.
You want to flick some colour over a wheel and
exactly. Not worry about it in 6 months' time.
Right. So tyres off the car.
Yeah.
You've then got to remove the paint finish from the wheel.
Yeah, the whole paint has to come off because powder gets done at 210 degrees, so any old products will just normally react or burn, doesn't like it at all.
Okay.
So it goes into an acid solution, which removes it all back to a pure bare metal wheel.
Yeah. And comes out of the acid solution and then is sprayed off to remove the acid.
Washed with solution and water as well to remove all that.
Okay.
Then obviously dried, rubbed down, sandblasted. If it does need any welding of any sorts, then we weld it.
So if a wheel, when you've checked it and it's slightly out of alignment, you can correct that, can you?
Of course, yeah, we straighten the wheel.
Okay. And cracks in the wheels,
cracks in the wheels, get welded as well.
Presumably there is a limit. I mean, you can't come in with a mullered wheel that's...
No, we advise no more than 2 cracks to a wheel.
Okay.
After that, it's pretty much compromised, and you will just have further problems with it.
And also where the crack is on the wheel, a bit like a tyre repair, in certain areas that you just can't weld it.
Of course, with size depending, obviously, yeah.
Okay, so the wheel has now had all the finish taken off it.
Yep.
It's been sandblasted down, it's been straightened if it needs straightening, it's been welded, and you've got essentially the wheel sort of as it left the foundry when it was produced.
Exactly that, yes.
Okay. What happens now to it?
It will then go into the oven, which then gets a process called degassing, which removes any imperfections.
So you actually bake it before you paint it? Okay.
Because metal does have waters and stuff and oils in the metal that a lot of people don't realise. So that's...
And also, presumably, your acid process and your, you've introduced water in your stripping process as well.
So it's baked off to, like I say, remove all of that. Then the powder primer is applied.
Okay. And with sort of powder coating, everyone talks about powder coating. What's the difference between powder coating and normal car painting?
The temperatures for start, the durability, the strength of it.
But in terms of the actual application, you're applying. I mean, does it literally go on as a dry powder when it goes?
It comes out the gun as a dry powder.
Okay.
When the primer's being done, obviously it's a hot wheel, so it does melt instantly then.
Okay, so it makes as it makes contact with the metal. So you're spraying literally out of that first oven bake.
Yeah.
The wheel is hot.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, and so the powder will kind of melt as it adheres to the...
Straight away, yeah.
Okay.
Melts instantly. The lacquer process is slightly different. You need the wheel to be a bit cooler for that. So that stays as a powder until it goes into
But the lacquer is... That's obviously not applied... You first of all, you would apply the colour to the wheel.
No, of course, yes.
Yeah, and then you bake it again, do you?
No, because the wheel's normally... The colour's normally put on at about 80 degrees, something like that, so it dries fairly quickly at obviously that temperature.
Okay.
So then obviously you just let it cool down a little bit more.
Okay.
Apply the powder lacquer, which will stay as a white, almost talcum powder look.
Okay.
And then you put it back in the oven at 180 degrees.
Okay.
And then that then melts and goes crystal clear.
Okay, and then what? Your wheel is refurbished?
Yeah, then obviously...
Miraculous.
Yeah. Back out here, new valve.
Yeah.
Tyre back on, balanced again, brand new weights.
Okay.
And then...
Diamond cutting.
Yes.
So that's where you apply the colour powder coat.
Yes.
And then you put it on a lathe.
Yes.
And you remove some of that.
Yeah, of diamond cutting, obviously it does take a small amount of metal off
Yeah.
to give you the metal finish.
Okay.
And then obviously then it will then be blown off, cleaned, and then the powder lacquer will be applied to the top of that.
So once it's had the actual colour applied to it, it would come out of the production process. It would then go on the lathe.
Yes.
It's put on and your lathe, as we'll see in a minute. And one of the reasons why we're filming out here is because it's quite noisy in there. So we're kind of chatting. You'll see all the processes as we're going along. But your lathe is quite a technical piece of equipment.
It's very technical. Obviously, if we've done the wheel before, it will have a program saved into it.
Okay.
If it hasn't been done before, it will need to be probed, as they call, which sort of basically the machine memorising the shape of the wheel.
So you set the wheel in and you take datum points.
Exactly.
And then you know that you're only taking off the smallest amount.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's in exactly the right shape then.
Okay. And then once that's been through the diamond cutting process, you then would apply the lacquer.
Yes.
And then bake the wheel again.
Exactly that.
Okay.
If you leave it as a bare metal, it will not last long and the metal will just start corroding almost instantly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In our case, we have magnesium alloys. Now, obviously, the benefit of magnesium is they're lighter than traditional alloy, but there's a lot of sort of mystique surrounding magnesium alloy wheels.
Yes.
You go, on the specialist forums and you've got to go. There's one man in Bolivia that can, refurbish magnesium alloy wheels.
A lot of wheel companies don't like doing them because they are high. They're a bit more of a risk. You just need to take a lot more care with them.
Yeah.
So in the solution, it just not leave it in there as long to make sure it doesn't eat into the metal at all.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So take it out a bit more often, wash it off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a special magnesium primer that we use.
Because one of the problems with magnesium is that it can be kind of more porous than normal alloys.
So on the degassing process I was mentioning earlier, you probably give it a little bit longer just to make sure that there's
kind of no moisture. I mean, we're fortunate in that the wheels that we've brought down, they've held pressure for a long time. So we know that essentially they're not porous themselves. And also, from a crack testing point of view, presumably you have to spend a bit more care and time on the crack testing.
So that all it comes down to is just a bit more attention to them.
Okay.
Just obviously a bit longer process.
And then your primer layer is a special primer layer for the magnesium.
Yes. Now, obviously, sometimes with them being so porous, what does tend to happen sometimes is it doesn't give you the best finish.
Okay.
So what we do here anyway, remove it out the oven, let it cool down, then rub it down again by hand.
Okay.
And then apply another coat of primer to give it that much smoother finish.
And then you would then put the colour on top of it. So we are currently, we've got some body coloured elements to the wheel, but we're going to go for a standard silver finish. Where you have different colours involved, presumably that means that in the powder coating process you have to mask areas off, apply one colour and then a second colour. How does that work?
Depending on the colours, what you might have to do sometimes is apply one colour, then the lacquer to protect that colour, then obviously a quick scotch bite they call it, it's a fine rubbing down stuff. To give it a good key? Yes, exactly. Then mask the areas, apply the colour again, remove all the tape, and then powder lacquer over the whole wheel
So
again.
again, I mean, there's lots of processes. When people think of alloy wheel refurbishing, I think they literally think, take the tyre back off the bead, rub it around with a bit of wet and
Yeah.
dry, whack a bit of silver paint on from Whole Foods, jobs are good, and away you go.
I say, which might sometimes look good for a month or two, it will not last very long.
It doesn't
at
even
all.
look good for a month or two when
No,
you know what
not
you're looking at.
often, no, yeah.
You know, I know.
Yeah.
So, but as I say, there's a lot of process, and even to the point where, when you're remounting tyres back on the wheels you've refurbished,
Yeah.
again, massive care, because these are perfect wheels.
Of course, yeah. If you've got to be very careful, if we do damage a wheel, then the whole process has to be started again.
Yeah,
So-
which you don't want to do.
No, exactly. Which happens very rarely. It does happen on a very
Yeah.
rare occasion, unfortunately. But like I say, here especially, we won't send it back like
No,
that.
you just have to stick your hands up and say, yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah,
And then the whole
yeah.
process has to be started again.
And I have to say, I mean, in all the time we've used you, I can't think of a time when, wheels come back and we thought, oh dear, that looks horrible.
Yeah.
It really does transform a car. And it's, I always think it's like when you build a house, you kind of put the carpet down,
Yes.
and your house goes from a building site to a home.
Of
And I
course.
think a nice set of alloy wheels, when they've been refurbished, that's the kind of icing on the cake. And it really
Well, you
set-
can have a whole car resprayed. If the wheels don't look nice, it tends to wreck the whole
they
sort
just
of
look
effect
tight.
of the
Yeah,
car.
not nice wheels, nice tyres,
Yeah.
and actually nice brakes as well. When you look in and see nice brakes
Yes.
in there, it's like, well, that's been really useful. Thank you very much.
No problem.
As I say, I wanted to make this because it's everyone's sort of had alloy wheels refurbed in the past, or they talk about it, and it's quite interesting looking at the processes involved. And yeah, I hope you found that useful. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Henry, and thanks to Bespoke Alloy Wheels.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me down and
No problem.
letting me film around and talking me through. And so yeah, look after yourselves, stay safe. Goodbye.